A note. Following advice from work-life imbalance may lead to action being taken by HR, your family, the authorities, or higher powers. Welcome to Work-Life Imbalance, an advice show focusing on workplace and lifestyle issues. Any resemblance to actual advice, living or dead, or actual wisdom is purely coincidental. I'm your monstrous manager, Frank Eastman.
And I'm your lovable, no longer lonely office companion, Derek Lewis.
Today we'll be talking about office thieves in the deep dive before we address audience questions and issues from the internet. But first, time for the daily stand-up. I missed you too, Derek.
It's been like 2 weeks since I've heard you say it's time for the daily stand-up, and I didn't know how bad I missed it until right then.
So, today for the daily stand-up, I was thinking about talking about vegan mac and cheese.
And unicorns and other things that don't exist?
Indeed. But here's the thing with vegans. Apparently, they're going to keep trying.
Right. No matter if laws or common decency or anything tell them to stop.
Exactly. Like, I have not had much.
Sorry. Look, I don't mean to interrupt you. It's just I can hear the wheels turning in your head as you're trying to make funny about this thing that A is both ludicrous and morally offensive on such a deep level.
It is honestly offensive to me as a human being that this shit exists at all.
Right.
And I mean, I'm game. I try things. I will eat soy-based burgers. This weekend I had one of those Impossible burgers that's supposed to, taste and feel like actual beef, but is made from plant proteins and such.
Okay. Is that an actual brand name or something?
Yeah. I think it was like the Impossible Burger is the brand name, but they were getting a little bit of press or something because their burger like bleeds beet juice
so
or
closely
something.
Emulates. Oh, Jesus! Because that's the part of the meat that I enjoyed the most is the fucking blood running out of its veins. I mean, sure, it is a nice touch on a delicious meal. But that is not why you buy the meat. Like, and especially if I know it's fucking beet juice. Like, beets are the worst. Beets are the worst things ever invented. Like, I don't know. I maybe I've never had it right. Like, I've had borscht before, and it's been okay. But like any other time that I've had beets, it has been the least pleasant experience. It has been either cold or warm red dirt. That is the best descriptor that I have for that, and no compliments whatsoever. Like, I have nothing positive to say.
Very earthy, I think, is what most people would describe the flavor as, and by earthy they mean it tastes like fucking dirt.
Oh God!
I honestly kind of enjoy beets a little bit though, so like that part of it doesn't bother me.
Right.
And that burger itself was not bad. I didn't have a bad time eating it, and I was like, it's one of those things that I think a lot of the textured plant protein meat substitute products have now at least reached the point where they're realistic enough that they are difficult to distinguish between like a really good one of those or a really shitty version of the real thing.
I was about to say, either a really good one of those or a really fucking terrible burger. So, I mean, yeah, I can see that, because you don't have to, like, you're never going to be able to match Kobe beef or something. Like, that's not, I mean, even with like the lab engineered, like bioengineered shit that they're coming out with, you're not really going to be able to come up to the, natural marbling of, Wagyu or Kobe beef. Like, you're never going to get to the pristine level. But if you can trick somebody that the burger they just ate contains the same type of meat as like a McDonald's quarter pounder, I think you're doing okay. Like, that's not too high a bar either. I mean,
That's where I'm at. Like that's one of the, like I'm not necessarily a crusader for the environment or anything like that, but the number of animals that we raise to feed like this ever-growing hunger that we have for burgers, and I get it. I have an ever-growing hunger for burgers as well. But like we're starting to get American sort of Western fast food chains into a lot of other countries and markets that we haven't before, and that's only going to increase the demand for beef.
right.
And beef is one of those things that's really kind of a pain in the ass from an not from an agricultural, but from an environmental standpoint to produce. So if we can make a McDonald's hamburger from some sort of pea protein that is indistinguishable from a McDonald's hamburger using, low grade beef that has been ground and processed to hell and back, I think that's a win. That's the kind of thing where, like, I'm not going to feel bad about it if I go to McDonald's and I get, like, the Soylent burger.
I mean, I agree with that because, I cannot say maybe back with the Big and Tasty or something like years and years ago, like that might have been the last time I went to McDonald's expecting any type of quality, and more or less that was just because the commercial looked so fucking good. But everything else has been just disappointment after disappointment. Not even disappointment, just I know what to expect, and I get no more out of my order.
Reality has set in.
Exactly. Like, I get exactly what I thought I was going to get, and no pleasant surprises. But yeah, I mean, I think, I don't need an animal to die in order for me to enjoy something. It's just that the tastiest things to enjoy do come with some modicum of animal death, and I love animals, like both obviously as food and as pets and lovable creatures. Like, baby cows are like some of the cutest motherfuckers.
Sometimes all at the same time.
Exactly. Somebody was showing me something. Somebody had caught. So there was a cow that had escaped from their fields like years ago, and they set up deer cameras because they were trying to catch some of the wildlife, and they found their cow from years ago had basically been kind of adopted by these woodland deer. And so there it was, like, with like the fully grown deer and the fully grown cow just like chewing on some hay caught on their game camera. Cows are cute, like, well, sort of, like some of their, like, if you step in a mean cow pie, you might question their cuteness. But
I was going to say, I am Southern enough to have grown up around cattle to some extent, and I don't know as cute would necessarily describe them past a few months.
if you can hold your nose, they are at least lovable. Like, they do have some positive qualities as like animals, like in some sort of cute factor, whatever. But
Then again, on the whole, I don't trust any situation in which I am not the largest living thing in the room.
that is also true. Like, that is a legitimate thing. Any creature that is larger than me, I'm looking at it, it's like, I don't trust you, son of a bitch. I want to be able to take down anything in this room, and you are breaking my rule.
Exactly.
That's why I don't want to go to meetings with you very often, because most of the time I am probably the largest person in the room until you walk in, and then I kind of have to like cower in the corner. But I don't need death in order to enjoy something. Like, that's not the whole point. So if they really did like perfect like the lab engineered beef, I think that could be fine. Like, if they can produce like marbling or something, like maybe while it's in the petri dish, like add like some fine beer or something, to kind of simulate that they had fed something some nice beer or something. Look, it is obvious from the last 10 seconds that I am in no way bioengineer, so I clearly don't know how this all works. But if anybody out there is and knows how to make this happen, I want if you can get bioengineered Kobe beef, sign me the fuck up, and I'll sign up to that mystery box service, and you can just send me some bioengineered meat every month. That'd be great. But until they get that,
It starts by splicing some soy with a cow.
oh
and then
God.
you get a soy cow. And from there,
I'm getting the feeling you don't know how this works either.
I am not a science person, Derek.
But okay,
I
so
have never claimed to be a science person.
all right, so let's go back to the vegan mac and cheese. What is this abomination that you have set up? What does it even consist of?
So the macaroni out, replaced by sweet potato chunks. The cheese out, replaced by kind of this cashew butter, but the cashew butter has been turned into the most foul and disgusting substance known to man.
I mean, I guess you could kind of consider that cheese-like because, cheese is just spoiled milk and cream. Like, so I get it. Like, it's not... I'm not defending cheese. I'm just saying that the replication of such things will probably lead to something worse than cheese.
This was not cheese. This was Baphomet smegma.
Oh Christ, that is a powerful pair of words. Oh my God, that is disgusting.
This is how much I disliked the cheese. It's just like they add some vinegar, like apple cider vinegar, and some nutritional yeast and shit to some ground up, I think it was cashews. And I can see what each of the additions are attempting to go for in terms of the flavor composition that is cheese.
Right.
It's like, oh, we'll add this for the tanginess of cheese, and then we'll add this for the umami of cheese, but you can't replicate it like that.
No. That just sounds hideous. I mean, so let me break down my complaints, not necessarily in any particular order of severity. They're calling it vegan mac and cheese. So, I mean, I guess, yeah, like cheese, they're trying to do a cheese substitute. With macaroni, if it doesn't have macaroni in it, it is not mac anything. Like, I know they're trying, like I said, they're trying to replace it, but if it doesn't have macaroni, you can't put mac in the name. Like, that is fucking full stop. Like, I am drawing a line in the sand. If it contains no macaroni, you can't call it mac anything.
It already didn't contain cheese, Derek, so at that point, we're in for a penny, we're in for a pound on the lies.
I guess so.
Let's ride this one all the way to the bank. At any rate, it is time for us to move on.
Take me out of this
dive.
Take me out of this this barren wasteland of flavor. So today on the deep dive, we want to talk about office kleptomaniacs, the lawless bastards that not only steal food, as we have previously discussed in previous episodes, but can't keep their dirty, filthy fucking paws off of other items around the office either. So Frank, what examples of office kleptomania have you seen?
At one of my previous jobs, there was a no-good, low-down, yellow-bellied son of a bitch that kept stealing people's coffee mugs.
So, like, taking them home or putting them in his desk?
Both. Like, people would come in with a mug, and it would be a pretty cool mug that they got for, like, Christmas or whatever, and they would wash it and put it up in the sink to dry.
Mm-hmm.
And come back the next day, and the motherfucker was missing.
Wow. I mean, I can see that with like, some companies have branded, like the company I work for has branded coffee mugs they put in the cupboards. So like they're not going to complain if you took one home. But my God, if somebody left their like Jim so and so is the best dad on the planet, I'm not taking that fucker home because my name ain't Jim so and so. Like, and I'm also not a dad, so that's kind of a twofer. But no,
Number one dad.
no, but that is just a rat bastard thing to do. So how did anybody ever figure it out or stop him, or how do they put a stop to that?
Somebody, I think, eventually figured out who it was. Like, it seemed like they caught on to the pattern that this person would, like, you have a cool cup, and then they will just see the cool cup in the... Because at that office, we had a dishwasher, and then there was
The drying rack?
a person on staff.
Mm.
Well,
No.
there was a drying rack, and then a person on staff who came by and would put everything in a cabinet.
Okay.
So if you didn't come and get your cup out of the dishwasher, it would end up in the cabinet.
Right.
Now, the cabinet wasn't like everybody can grab this because it was mostly a cabinet filled with other people's shit, stuff
Right.
that you could see someone had bought on purpose because they wanted to use it.
So it was a communal space for individual people's stuff to use individually.
Exactly. And at first, I think everybody kept thinking, oh, well, somebody just might have grabbed that as the first cup that they pulled out of the thing, so cool, that's fine. It'll turn back up in the washing machine in a couple of days, and then I'll make sure to snag it and put it in my desk.
Right.
Well, this person was taking them out of the cabinet, leaving them sit in like a semi-hidden place on his desk so that if anybody came by and was like, oh, that's my mug, he could be like, oh yeah, I had just used it, here you go. But then if nobody had caught him in a couple of days, it would just disappear from the desk, never to be seen again.
Wow. That is fucking bold. Oh God. Jesus. So like, I mean, I have so many questions. The first of which being that I think trumps them all. What the fuck does he need with like a steady stream of coffee mugs? Like what is he doing with his own coffee mugs? Like I don't understand.
The only thing that I could think of is that he did his entire glassware section in his home in stolen shit.
But
Because I mean, people had pint glasses and big mugs and insulated tumblers and drink bottles and stuff like that. All of those things, they would all just go disappearing, and it was very specifically stuff that was cool.
Right. But I mean,
So if it was like, oh, check out my...
But like after like 3 weeks, where the fuck is he putting them all? Like, dude, I have like 10 coffee cups in my cabinet, and if we get another one, we got to get rid of one. Like, we don't have enough space for any more cups. And it's not like we have like a tiny amount of space. We just got other shit to put in cabinets. So how the hell like, do you think he has like some like an entire like storage unit devoted to these cool ass coffee cups?
Maybe he's got a room in his house where he, has built a shrine to all the coffee cups that he's stolen or something.
Oh, no. Oh, God. Oh, no. What if he's taking the mugs from people that are cool and then kind of using their cells and, like, splicing DNA to make, like, the ultimate cool office person? Like, just, like, in a petri dish? I can only imagine that's the case, because what the fuck else do you need with 10,000 used coffee mugs? Like, or...
I was going to say, the amount of my shit that went missing, I have to assume that whatever Frankenstein's monster that he has created looks mostly like me and is probably just my illegitimate son.
Wait a minute. What did you leave in your coffee cups, Frank?
We all got to do what we got to do in the stall, Derek. These demons don't summon themselves.
Oh God, I guess that's what you meant when you said the coffee took you to Flavor Town, but I didn't think you were being literal. But I think this is not necessarily just restricted to, this coffee cup theft, but some of the things that can go missing in an office, like you misplace like a stapler or some scissors or pins. Like even I've been guilty of that. Like I've had pins around the office. I'll pick it up, put it in my pocket, and get home and realize, oh shit, I just took like a $2 or $3 pin. Of course, that happens enough, and you have like a once again a shrine of office pens. But if other things start going missing, like desk decorations, or like you said, coffee cups, or those, like you were saying, like tumblers or like water bottles and stuff like that. Some of those things are like $30 and $40 a piece. So
Oh yeah.
you've got to imagine that if somebody was unscrupulous enough, they could, in essence, use the office as kind of what is it, American Pickers or whatever, where they just go and they steal shit and then they like sell it on like Let Go or eBay or something like that. You could probably, especially if you work somewhere where there are a lot of people that have money or spend money on stupid gaudy shit, you could make a decent amount of money. I mean, I'm not condoning it. I'm just saying it's practical.
Floyd's Cup Emporium.
Used Cup Emporium at that.
Used Cup Emporium. Which is only used because the name Steinmart was already taken. One of the greatest disappointments of my adult life was walking into Steinmart for the first time and realizing
there were no Steins in sight.
Not a fucking Stein to be found.
Oh, God.
I was so excited. I was like, I'm going to get me one of them little lidded cups. It's going to be great.
When I go to the Biergarten, they're going to think I'm so cool. But no, all it was what, like clothes? I don't even know what's in a Steinmart.
None of them were even lederhosen.
You'd think at least they could throw in some lederhosen. That's just mislabeling their brand. That's terrible.
Yeah, I really think they're missing out by not selling Steins at Steinmart. That's all I gotta say.
Even if they sold other things, like it's fine for them to do the clothes or whatever other stuff they have. Just have some Steins. Like even if it's just one, have one Stein, and then we'll be like, haha, that's funny. Okay, let me go get some chinos.
The obligatory, row of Steins. Just 5. I think 5 is a good number. 5 suggests that you have curated the collection.
Right. Oh, and it could be like a traveling collection, like not that there's one for the entire company, but they kind of exchange them on some semi-frequent basis, so that you have Steins from like around the world and around the country, and just so your local shop may have some from. And it would bring repeat business because people would be coming back to see what kind of Steins you had at Steinmart. I guess they couldn't purchase
I know it
them.
would have gotten me back.
Yeah.
Because I only walked into Steinmart that one fucking time, and I was like, well, nope, nothing for me here.
I didn't even have to walk
Steins.
in there.
I'm out.
Somebody just told me that they had no Steins, and I was like, they got nothing for me then. I will say that the biggest and most severe case of kleptomania in the office, and it wasn't even necessarily like out and out just somebody taking anything that wasn't nailed down, but I worked at a place, and I will not be very specific, but I worked at a place that was not super careful about labeling or cataloging their inventory. And we would get computers in, and there was one particular person who was in a position of power who would order these computers, and they'd sit around, and maybe a project would be canceled to where they're no longer needed, and a couple years later they'd come looking for them, and they just weren't there. I don't think this guy was selling them. He didn't necessarily need the money, but I think he had, like, if anybody's gonna create Skynet, not from like intelligence, but from just like sheer amount of computing power this fucker had. Like he definitely had a cray supercomputer by the end of it. If he just strung them all together, then he's got his own server farm. Now, I will say, like, when the Bitcoin thing started happening, things, let's say the pace picked up just a tad. It was like he was trying to get all the computing power he possibly could, and I mean, he said his power bill went up like 300% because of all the computers that he had that were running around the clock mining Bitcoin. I don't think he ever did anything with them, but whatever.
Well, I think they're worth about 36 cents or $15,000. It depends on the exact microsecond you check.
Right. It's Schrodinger's Bitcoin. Like
Exactly.
if you don't check how many Bitcoin you have and what they're worth about 20,000. But the second you open up your BitLocker and to look at them, they're worth about a quarter. So with people that are just that don't necessarily, for people that are unscrupulous, that don't necessarily care whose property is what or how much was spent on it, what can you do to stop these fuckers? Because I mean, in some cases it's obvious and maybe they'll get fired or something like that. But in some cases, like, these people are just very sneaky about it, and it's just a bare suspicion that somebody may be stealing something. I mean, what can you do? What type of booby trap could you lay to try to catch this guy?
See, at first with the cup thief, we attempted to just start writing our names on our possessions, under the mistaken assumption that if this person were able to identify a specific individual who they were stealing from, they would be a little less inclined to make off with their shit.
Appealing to their sense of humanity and not wanting to, whenever you put a name to a face.
It goes over so well with hardened criminals.
Yeah, I'm guessing that did not deter them whatsoever.
Not really. I think they became more trophy-like at that point. Like, not only did I steal this cool Simpsons mug, but now it's also signed by the poor bastard that no longer has this cool Simpsons mug.
That's funny. What was he ever brought to justice?
With anything, I think someone eventually called him out, and it stopped, because once everybody knew exactly who it was, they could go to that person and be like, listen, motherfucker,
give my cup back.
I want my cup back. Nowadays, with most things that you can put, like, I know that they've got these little near-field sensors and low-energy Bluetooth transmitters and stuff.
Right.
So you could conceivably LoJack all of your shit with low-energy Bluetooth tags.
Right.
It would be very expensive and time-consuming, but...
But look, cost is not the most important factor here. I mean, you're gonna spend a lifetime salary trying to replace all your coffee cups, so you might as well go ahead and just put up a little bit up front and, tag it with something to where you can find this bastard, call the law, and send them, to an exact location. I mean, like you said, it'll be a little bit costly up front, but once you see that rapscallion on the evening news, you know your job is done. Maybe because you've been fired.
It might be difficult to find something that could sense these things at his home. So you might end up having to use like one of those radio transmitters that they put on sharks.
Okay.
And I think they're only like 2 or 3 feet long. So it shouldn't interrupt your coffee cup enjoyment that much.
It's just like hanging on the side of the coffee cups. Every time he takes a drink, it pokes him in the eye.
Exactly. It's just wobbling out there.
That's so goofy. All right, you want to take the elevator to accounting?
Let's take the elevator to accounting.
Need to complain about some thieves.
All right, Derek, want to get to the review retrospective?
I would love to. It's been a couple weeks, so I need a little bit of praise to inflate my ego, so hit me.
Well, we got to know why we're doing this, and we're doing this for the fan.
Singular, not plural.
Almost as great as the water cooler. 5 stars by Via VHS. Solid banter, deadpan comedy, and advice you should never, ever take. Definitely listen.
Very
I
nice.
agree with everything that this person is saying. This person is a genius, and I would hire them immediately.
I agree.
Next up, we have Soothing. 5 stars by Fiercely Altered Perspective. Derek and Frank are funny, informative, and they both have great voices. We all know the difference between work and life, and these guys bridge that gap with plenty of humor. It's a must-listen, and now a permanent fixture on my playlist. Alright, so Via VHS has been supplanted now by Fiercely Altered Perspective. Because not only did they give me praise, but they said that my voice was great. And something about you was in there too.
I believe they called it soothing. So this is the part of the podcast where you just get to take a little nap. Sure, we've got other shit to do, but we can wait. That's fine.
Just some happy little trees.
No, we can't do that. I can't paint for shit. So we gotta nix that plan before it gets too far ahead.
That was one critical flaw in our plan for world domination, and it was that it hinged on your artistic ability.
We should have workshopped that beforehand. I could have told you that was not going to work. Shit, I've been doing
Derek will paint the pictures, and I will sing.
My guess is that both will be about of equal quality. But no, thank you so much for all the reviews, and anybody who's listening that hasn't already left a review, feel free to go ahead and do it. That helps us a lot and helps us to get found, and hopefully we'll point other people towards the podcast. So that would be fantastic.
And if you know anybody that might find things like this funny, feel free to point them in our direction.
Absolutely, because we are soothing. That's good too.
So soothing, Derek.
It's like that's why they call me Chamomile. That's my prison name. All right, it is time for the Indie Podcast Corner. In this segment, we take a few minutes to tell you about a new podcast that we've been enjoying that we think you'll enjoy too. And
you know what we don't do though, Derek?
What is that?
We don't listen to the totally awesome Indie Podcast Corner theme song.
No, we don't. But unlike the last time we talked about it, I have started writing it. No, actually, I had sort of kind of written it before, but now I'm actually like putting it together. And it just like everything I do, it's taking like 10 times longer than I anticipated because I can't fucking let stuff go. So it is.
I was going to say, Derek, I started writing a novel, but you don't see novelist next to my fucking name, do you?
Well, I'm not saying I'm a fucking singer-songwriter. I'm just saying that I have an idea. It may or may not materialize, and that's that. Like I'm not calling Billboard now and saying get ready. Like it's just a fucking idea.
See, Derek, I was hoping that we could do one of those tiny desk concerts because the desk would look even tinier with us.
I don't think they meant it so literally, but that's fine. Actually, I think on the NPR videos they have like an actual like tiny desk that they have created now. So it's very cute. Like for a little mouse, if a mouse were to be an office drone. But this week our featured show is the You, Me, and He podcast. Rob, Drew, and Josh give their hilarious take on movies, music, and pop culture, as well as stories about their own lives. They may not. I think they mentioned this in the show, so it's not like I'm really like outing them or anything. But one of the things that initially drew me to them is that all three of them were members of a hardcore band together for several years, and that's they grew up as friends. They started a metal band, and now they're dads, and just doing the podcast thing.
See, Derek, when you when you came open with you, me, and he, and then you moved on to I don't want to out them, I thought this was going in a real different direction.
No, that's...
Even when you said hardcore, I was like, well, I do declare, I didn't realize this is going to be that kind of podcast, Derek.
Can we do one of these where it doesn't turn into a fucking roast? Oh God, no! But I won't say the name of their band, but they sent me some clips of it, and it's actually really good. Like it definitely has like some of the like mid 2000s like
Angst.
Angst. That's the word I was looking for. It definitely is angsty, but it's musically. I thought it was actually really good. So kudos to them, and I'm really sad that they don't do it anymore. But yeah, hopefully they'll bring some more of their music out of the darkness, because it's pretty great if you like that thing. But here's the most incredible part about the entire show: they somehow managed to keep their show funny, and they don't cuss at all. Like in their entire show, somehow they don't cuss a single time. I don't understand how you can do comedy and not say fuck. Like, I don't... How do you do that?
The spirit of George Carlin is rising up within me right now.
God.
I feel Richard Pryor coming over me. And not in the way that Richard Pryor would.
Oh, God. But no, like they were asking for questions to, you know, kind of like we do with our questions from the audience, and they were saying, you know, keep them PG, and I'm like, huh? And so, you know, I listened to more of their episodes, and I realized, holy shit, they don't say fuck or goddamn or shit or anything at all in the entire podcast, and it still is raucously funny. So that, from me, that is some high praise, I feel.
Maybe I'll start pointing my family towards that podcast and just pretend that is my podcast. I'll be like, yeah, Ma, you can listen to my podcast. Here it is.
My stage name is Rob. Your stage name is Drew. And I don't know who Josh is, but...
He's a clean friend of ours.
A clean friend of ours. But you can find them on Twitter at You, Me, He Podcast. And that is, once again, that is the You, Me, and He Podcast. Go check it out.
Do you enjoy entertainment? Have you wasted money or time not knowing what to expect?
Well, look no further.
The Chewed Gum Podcast is your answer.
It's a plastic blast.
We are the Gruesome Twosome, Seamus and Luke. We find the latest entertainment and give you our views and hopefully save you time and money. So come listen to the Gruesome Twosome and chew up recent entertainment. Who's listening to you, dummies?
All right, Derek, are you ready for an audience question?
I am ready.
If you could choose a different topic or genre for your podcast, what would it be and why? Sent in by Drew from Real Feels Podcast. Now, I know that we gave Real Feels Podcast a shout out not too long ago.
Mm-hmm.
And I might have said some stuff that might have been rough, and so now I'm wondering, is this them coming for me?
I'm not saying that it's not them coming for you. maybe it's a gentle suggestion. Like, say, guys, have you ever thought about doing a different type of podcast? It's like, well,
one that's good. I kind of liked my concept.
I was about to say, that's a very hurtful qualifier. To be honest, I don't know. I think we kind of touched on this a little bit in our, if we were to have to do a podcast by ourselves without the other one, like what would the content be? I think that's kind of the way that I would go. it really would have to do with the last thing I did before I had to do it. So, the when we were talking about it before, it was like, what did I say? Terrace House, because we just binge watched Terrace House. If I had to do it now, it would be a it would be a Queer Eye fan cast, because we have watched like 12 episodes of Queer Eye in the last 2 weeks, and it is so fucking good. Oh my god. Oh.
Well, maybe we'll create a spin-off show.
Uh-huh.
It can be Straight Eye.
That's not narrowing.
Yeah, that's
down.
all I got. All I got is Straight Eye. Yeah.
That may be a little bit on the nose.
Maybe Straight Guys for the Queer Eye.
That's not bad. They are called the Fab Five. So if we could find 3 other fat guys, we could be the Fat Five. I mean, I think that's got some decent legs. Now, have you watched the new reboot of Queer Eye?
I've seen season 1. We haven't yet dived into season 2.
Yeah, I mean it's definitely more of the same. It doesn't necessarily improve on anything. It was good to begin with. The one thing that's so funny about watching Queer Eye multiple episodes in a short stretch is that you watch one and you think, that's very touching. This is amazing. These guys are great. This was a very heartwarming experience. But if you start watching several in a row, you'll start realizing all the motherfuckers they're making over look like me.
One, I think they're recording in Georgia.
Uh-huh.
So Georgia and Alabama per capita probably have a decent percentage of the fat white guy pie.
Yeah.
And 2, I know at least in season 1 they did a makeover of that sort of bookish civil engineer,
Right.
who was like black and totally built.
Right.
And super gay. So
they turned that guy into a stud. And so the second thought that they have is like, first of all, a lot of these motherfuckers are like on the Venn diagram of what makes up those people and what makes up me. There's like an 80% overlap. So that's disconcerting. But the other thing is like, it's like, man, how can I get on this show? Like, I would love, a new haircut.
I don't know that I could, I would handle them coming into my house and like tearing it apart very well.
Yeah, I could get that. Like, I think they would have less for us to do. Like, if they came in and did it with my house and my body. Like, I think the style guy would have a lot of work to do. The beautician, the hygiene guy, or not hygiene guy, but like hair and face and stuff. Like, he would have a lot to do. But the relationship guy, Karamo, like, wouldn't have much to do. Bobby, our house is pretty great. Like, they could like put more stuff in it, but like it's already kind of clean and minimal. So like they could zhuzh it up, but that's about it.
Yeah, see, my house, of course, is kind of the opposite. So all I can picture is like the 3 of them walking in and then walking out, and then there's like a montage of them coming back with like flamethrowers or some shit.
Oh God. Oh, I want to see that now. I want some sort of like fan film of the Fab Five, like just like fucking torching a house that is completely unsalvageable.
And for my part, like, not only is the house I call into question, the style I call into question, because invariably they're bringing these people to places where you buy clothes,
Right?
which is not a thing that I necessarily have the luxury of doing very often.
And there really are,
seeing
not
as I'm
a
not
ton
of
around
human
here.
proportions.
Oh, yeah, that's actually a good point. Like, they would take you to the place that you already shop. Like,
Pretty much, they would be like, shit. I think you already own most of the thing on the rack here.
I mean, the choices are DXL or like Dressbarn. Like, that's pretty much the only option they've got.
I mean, they can feel free to have me some bespoke clothes made. I would surely enjoy that. I just think that their budget would not necessarily have that in there.
I was about to say, like, if for nothing else than the pure cost savings, like, that would be fantastic. Oh God. Okay, so we have covered mine. You know, it would certainly be, at least if you ask me in the next like couple of weeks, it would be a Queer Eye Fancast. What about you? What would your your plan be for a podcast be?
If I had to do a plan B for a podcast, you know, it's not something I've given thought.
Yeah, don't you dare say a work-life related one with a different co-host. Like, I know how to read between the lines.
If I couldn't do this podcast, I would do a better podcast on the same subject with someone else.
Aw.
Now, if I were to do another podcast, you know, because the podcasting space, I'll go ahead and say, is a little bloated.
Agreed.
There's a lot of podcasts out there, and I don't think that I would necessarily like, the reason I started this podcast was because I felt I had something that I could say in this particular space that I didn't necessarily see a ton of other people saying. Other things that I might be interested in, I think other people are already doing and are doing well enough and are established enough in doing it that I don't really have any desire to try and break into that space.
Right.
Now, if I come up with something...
I was saying it's not always about doing something that somebody else isn't doing. You know, it is about doing them. You could possibly do the same thing just better, but, you know, of the things that I, you know, enjoy, I think somebody's already doing like a 95 percentile quality version of it that it would be very difficult to both replicate and improve on.
Yeah, and I mean, there's always room for everyone's voice, I guess, but I think for my part, if I'm going to invest the kind of time, energy, and money that is required to make a podcast, I kind of want to do it in a way that I am saying something.
Right. Which at this point, it's, you know, fuck, fart, shit. Like, that's mostly what we're saying on this one, but, you know.
Yeah, it's mostly people pooping and jerking off in the restroom. That so far seems to be the major things that we have discovered are actually going on in the business community.
I mean, if we did like one of those word cloud things of all the words we say, like, I think fuck would probably be like front and center, but I think we would be very disappointed in ourselves of the other words that are surrounding it.
We would just look at it and be very shamed.
It's like, oh God. I didn't know I said semen so much, but there it is in big, bold, bubbly letters. In Comic Sans, no less.
Oh, God. Do you hate yourself that much, Derek?
If I was going to self-flagellate, I would want to do it in Comic Sans.
Now, self-flagellation, that might be a topic for a podcast that hasn't been done before.
And I think it's something that definitely fits in your wheelhouse. Not necessarily you self-flagellating, but you promoting self-flagellation of others.
There we go.
I could see that.
I'm going to have to workshop this one for a little while. In the interim, want to take an issue from the internet?
Let's do that. This issue is from user Bam Slam Thank You Sir. So a terrible bastardization of the common Slam Bam Thank You Ma'am. They fucked it right up.
Sir.
Should I get a doctor's note for the restroom? HR pulled me in for a meeting, and before you say it, no, it is not like entirely about the bathroom. It is bathroom adjacent, but it's more about like bad practices. So buckle in.
All right, I'm strapped in, Derek. I was concerned, but carry on.
HR pulled me in for a meeting today to tell me that I am up from my seat too much. I now have to message my acting manager anytime I'm leaving my seat, including when I use the restroom. In my 10-hour shift today, I used the restroom 4 times, went to lunch, picked up coffee downstairs, and visited with someone from another department for less than 5 minutes. My restroom breaks aren't 10 to 20 minutes long. I do my business and get back to my desk. My concern is my acting manager mocked my bathroom usage a few months ago, so I stopped drinking as much water. This cut my bathroom breaks down, but I also became dehydrated and sick. Not to get TMI, but I have a small bladder. Drinking a normal amount of water within a 10-hour shift for me means going 4 to 6 times while I'm there. I have other reasons to believe my acting manager is trying to get me fired as well. Should I get a doctor's note for my restroom use? I've had bad kidney infection in the past, so my doctor says go when I need to go. There's a decent amount to unpack in there.
To answer their question,
Uh-huh.
yes, I would say go ahead, get a doctor's note, and then just ride that bitch all the way.
Like, if you're going to go through the trouble of getting a doctor's note so that somebody will give you just a modicum of human fucking decency, then you have carte blanche. You can do whatever the fuck you want with that doctor's note. Like, get them to say that you have, like, sun sensitivity. Like, just go ahead and take it to 11.
I mean, I would get that, and then I would also start just leaving like business cards from ADA lawyers and law practices associated with discrimination claims and things like that, and just leave them around my desk.
Oh god, so they come by to try to harangue you, and they look down and see the business card right there, like, ooh, I'll come back later. That
Like,
all
you know,
kidding
I don't
aside-
want to take too many bathroom breaks, but my doctor suggested I should.
In
Do you
fact,
want me to not take my doctor suggested bathroom break?
in fact, he said that I probably should have an office. I should probably have my own bathroom in my office. I know you're kind of being, goofing a little bit with the business cards thing, but that's actually like legitimately not a bad idea. Like, maybe not have it for like completely frivolous things, but if you're in one of these situations and you haven't like gotten the doctor's note or anything like that, if the conversation is starting for you to do that, just having that business card in plain view on the desk, like basically you have a Rolodex and it's always flipped to that one. Like, I think that would send a pretty strong message. Like, that is certain. Like, if I was the manager and I saw that every time I walked over there, I would not fuck with them, because they have connections, or at least the will to sue. And that's no bueno.
On the other hand, what is it that you do for 10 hours a day that you can only take 4 bathroom breaks before people start getting up your ass about it?
Well, you say that, but when I worked at a textiles plant, some of those loom operators, like, I think they get a 30-minute lunch break and 2 15-minute breaks for the entire 8-hour shift. And essentially every minute that they're not there, either tending the loom or watching, putting fabric through a tenter, or moving rolls from place to place depending on their job, that process just was not continuing. So unless they had like a 2-person team or something where they could swap out, essentially they were losing production while that was going. So I get it. Like, I get that they want people to be at their stations fairly regularly, but at the same time, if you can't stand for somebody to go pee for like 5 minutes, like, that's just ridiculous. And the thing is, I wouldn't want to track somebody else's pee habits. Like, like, unless you yourself are doing nothing but tracking someone else's pee habits, how are you keeping up with that? Like that boggles my mind. Like, to be so in somebody else's business that you can tell. Like, people that sit around me, they could be gone for an hour, and only after somebody comes and asks for them do I realize they are gone. Like, it's just that I don't understand. Like, I guess maybe if it's your job to keep up with people, you should keep up with people. But I don't know.
Maybe he's a loom operator. She's a loom operator. I don't know. Because the problem I'm having here, Derek, is I don't actually do work of any sort, so I don't know what that's like.
But no, you're right. Outside of like a production plant, I can't think of any reason why a bathroom trip would cause undue stress. The part of this that kind of gets to me is that essentially, the manager didn't just come out and say, "Hey, I feel you're probably overdoing a little bit on the bathroom breaks." I feel, because that's the thing. I think the manager probably felt that they were being abusive with a lenient policy. I mean, lenient being pee when you have to pee, which I didn't really feel that was a lenient policy. I felt that was just a normal policy. But then
these weak-willed SOBs, they're going to have employees walking all over them, taking pee breaks, one after the other.
Before
4,
long,
sometimes 5 a day.
Before long, they'll be peeing right on the manager. Maybe he'll figure out he has a new fetish.
It'll be anarchy.
And then they said that the acting manager mocked their bathroom usage. Like,
yeah, that's the one. Like, everything up until that point, for me, like, looking at it, I go, all right, what you've got more than you've got a bathroom problem, what you've got is a perception problem.
right.
And that's what most problems are. Like, for this guy, I would say the manager has stopped by at certain times, found that person not there, and then extrapolated out, this person is never at their desk.
Right.
And really what you've got is a perception problem.
Right. It could just be a bad timing coincidence. Like, if somebody only walks through 3 times a day, but you are gone just by happenstance all 3 times per day. I mean, maybe you shouldn't time your pee breaks with their normal scheduled rounds. But no, it's just a perception thing, because they feel like you were gone more than you should be, and whether or not you are is irrelevant. It's what they feel. And that's why.
So I think they're gonna need to Thomas Crown heist movie this shit. And they're going to have to time things that as soon as the boss walks by their desk, they're up and crouched down and dodging through the cubicle farm in order to get to the restroom without being seen. And then you do your business, and then you sneak back to your desk. And it was like you never left.
Yeah, I mean, I think that the only problem with that is that when somebody starts like playing the Mission Impossible theme song on their phone while they're doing this, I think that could be a dead giveaway, but who knows?
Yeah, I mean, don't play at top volume the Mission Impossible theme, or hum your own theme music while sneaking.
So say just hum it at a very low volume, like dun, 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 dun.
Johnson? Is that you?
No, and this person even said that they stopped drinking so much water and they started to become dehydrated and sick. Like, I feel like you have to really cut down your water intake to actually start becoming like truly dehydrated and sick. I mean, and that's the thing, that essentially this part about becoming dehydrated and sick was right after their manager had mocked them. So they basically shamed them into, a poor health decision. Like, that just speaks of a bad manager, that essentially the manager can't figure out a better way to get productivity up or to get numbers up. So they have to start nitpicking about these shitty little things that are things that they can control that don't actually take real work. They just take, pedantry. Like, they just take, being an asshole, which is something that most managers are well equipped to do. Fixing actual like process and production problems are not something all of them are equipped to do. So I guess
go on, Derek. Do tell us about how much of an asshole all managers are.
Look, Frank, I know you know how to fix some problems, but if you had to say out of 10 problems, how many of your problems could you fix with menial pedantry over, requiring real, like, experienced work? If you had to take a stab.
I would like to think that there is a decent percentage that I could solve through meaningless pedantry just because of my love for that. But yeah, you're probably right. There's not a lot of problems you can solve that way.
Yep. Oh, all right, Frank, you ready to punch the clock?
Let's punch the clock.
All right. Thank you all so much for listening to the show. We now have a threadless merch store where we have our Work-Life Imbalance logo placed on any number of miscellaneous household items, and where we will be putting new t-shirt designs in the near future. You can find it at worklifeimbalance.threadless.com. We would love to hear from you guys, so if you have any questions you'd like for us to answer on air, send them to questions@wlicast.com. You can also visit us on Facebook at facebook.com/WLIcast or on Twitter at WLImbalance and use the hashtag WLIcast.
This has been the Work-Life Imbalance Podcast. I'm Frank Eastman.
I'm Derek Lewis.
And with that, I think we're going to have to transfer you. Now, see, the thing that I was thinking about is that since we've got this threadless store, we could have people send in pictures of themselves wearing our merch.
Mm-hmm.
And then we could read aloud a description of that person into the podcast.
Oh, no. I don't think people would buy our merch anymore if they knew they were going to eventually be the targets of a roast. Like, I don't think that's necessarily what they want.
I bought this t-shirt and all I got was read to filth by some fat assholes.